Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order. The Amite River Basin Drainage and Water Conservation District on this September 12th of 2023, 10 a.m. here at the State Capitol. And we'll start off with our Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Lionel Bailey, can you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Tony, can we get a roll call? Hold on, Tony.
Mr. Bailey?
Here.
Present. Representative Carter?
Public record, you have to get it to the mic.
All right. Mr. Bailey was present. Representative Carter's absent. Mr. Clark?
Present.
Okay, here. Ms. Phillips?
Here.
Here. Mr. Dawson?
Here.
Here. Mr. Weber? Here. Ms. Ferlito?
Here.
Here. Ms. Fitch?
Here.
Here. Mr. Harrell? Here. Mr. Harris?
Here.
Here. Mr. O'Neill is absent. Mr. Parker?
Here.
Here. Mr. Rayford?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank y'all.
Okay, we welcome the public. Thank you all for coming and attending our meeting, and hopefully you all signed in. We have a meeting sign-in sheet outside, and you were able to get a copy of our meeting agenda. And I'd like to ask you at this time, do y'all have any public comments? Okay, at the end of the meeting, we'll have a session where we'll have some public comments after you hear the content of our meeting. So moving on, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Any public comment on the minutes?
Okay, first of all, excuse me. Is there any public comments on our meeting minutes from last month's meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
On the regular meeting?
On the regular meeting? Motion by Commissioner Weber. Second by Commissioner Dawson. Any opposition? Hearing none, it's adopted. Okay, we had a special meeting this past August 29th, 2023. Any public comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Harris. Second by Ms. Phillips. Any opposition? Hearing none, it's adopted. Okay, next item, approval of our financial statements ending August 31st, 2023. Any public comments? All in favor?
Is there any discussion?
Any discussion amongst the board members on our financial statements ending August 31st? Hearing none, do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Dawson and second by Commissioner Harris. Mr. Bailey, I correct. Motion by Mr. Bailey and Dawson. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion adopted. Okay, next item, report from the ARBC president. First of all, I just want to start out by saying how much Well, first of all, I'd like the commissioners to reflect back and others to realize the commissioners of the ARBC have been very busy getting work done. Thanks for taking your time and working together to forward our goals and objectives of the ARBC. For one, so far, not so far, but recently, we've successfully rated all of the Watershed Initiative Round 2 Region 9 pre-application projects with unanimous approvals. This was a tall task given our different versions of the Round 2 project list provided to us by LWI right up at the deadline to submit these projects and rate them. But nevertheless, it was necessary to account for all of the projects within Region 9 and important for the parishes. We've also passed a ARBC resolution of support for Region 9 projects that were submitted with our project list to the Council on Watershed Management as rated. We've worked closely with the state reps and the governor for an amendment to the Watershed Initiative Action Plan that would provide Region 9, one of the most impaired regions in the state, to receive $100 million for large transformative flood risk reduction projects. We're also closing in on getting all of the paperwork for the Region 9 coordinator funding. Together, we've also worked through a list of over 40 applicants for the ARBC Executive Director position, and thanks to the help of the special committee, we whittled it down to two applicants. And during a special meeting recently held during August, we were able to select a candidate for that position, and today we'll confirm employment. We're also working with the CPRA to finalize a task order with the ARBC annual plan that's due at the end of this year. We're working with our state delegation to secure additional ARBC operating funds, and we'll be submitting a letter of intent for hazard mitigation grant program funding for a much-needed project. And I'm sure I'm leaving out many more things that we've been doing. And, I don't want to bore you all, but I just want to let you know that it is recognized, and for the viewing public to know that the ARBC has been working. And we're working together, and that's the only way that we can do things. So with that concludes my president's report. And next item on our agenda is a report from our legal counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just
The members be aware that I have recently been in discussions with LWI concerning the coordinator issue, and we have had a conference call yesterday, Tony and I did, with LWI. They are providing us what they call a bare bones outline of what our actual application is going to be required, and hopefully our new executive director will be able to be working on putting that information together. But that is something that there is no specific deadline, they told me, as of yesterday. But I think it needs to be done as quickly as possible. So just be aware that we have just gotten that information yesterday from LWI, and hopefully we will be able to proceed with the securing of those additional funds for the coordinator, which, as many of you know, our president has been doing a yeoman's job of trying to stand in and do some of that work. So we appreciate John's efforts in carrying that water. But that's the only particular. There's some specific items in old and new business I can comment on, but that was the most important thing that we had going on.
Okay, moving right through our agenda. Thank you, Larry. Moving right through our agenda. We have a presentation. Are we ready for our presentation by Miss Christy Trail? She's an engineer and executive director for the Pontchartrain Conservancy, and I think her project today is about the Greensburg wastewater treatment system and maybe share some information about the program. All right. Hold on.
I'm on? Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Christy Trail. I am the Executive Director of the Pontchartrain Conservancy. We are a nonprofit that works in Southeast Louisiana. One of our main focuses is on water quality, which is what I wanted to talk to you all about today. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this project. I did have a handout. I'm not sure if everybody got one. I have some extras. But this is the project we're going to be talking about today. I'm basically just going to kind of read through a summary of this. Again, you've got this handout for additional information. I'm always happy to answer questions about it as well. This is a proposed project for the city of Greensburg, which is located in St. Helena Parish. On the handout, I have two maps. One is just showing where the town of Greensburg is, if you're not familiar with it. And on the backside, you can see the location of the retention pond for the wastewater treatment facility for the town. And you can see it is located really close to the one of the rivers. Oh, there's one. That drains into the Tickfaw River. So I recognize that this is in Region 7 of the Louisiana Watershed Initiative and not you all's Region 9. But nonetheless, because the watersheds are so close to each other, I really just wanted to share this information as FYI only. The town is proposing to remove this retention pond and build a new wastewater treatment facility. Currently, this retention pond is bermed around the entire perimeter, and thus when the river floods, it overtops the berms, and then untreated wastewater then drains out into the river. If you can see there on this map, there's a nursing home nearby, and so typically that untreated wastewater does discharge around the town and does affect kind of the waterways and surface areas, especially near that nursing home. So this project would aim to improve water quality by eliminating this entire system and building a new system that would be mechanically run, elevated, and have an administration building. So again, just wanted to share this with you all today. We did bring it to the Region 7 LWI. It's made it through their special meeting that they also had on August 29th. So I guess now we're just kind of waiting to see where it stands. Assuming it makes it through, that'd be great. We can proceed with the project. If not, we are going to potentially look at other funding sources. And that's all I have for y'all today. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions? Ms. Commissioner Harrell?
Yes, ma'am. Have you looked at hazard mitigation funding?
This is the first funding source we've been engaged in working with the town on. I do believe previously they had engaged trying to get some funding potentially from FEMA, which I guess would be the hazard mitigation funding, but had been declined. I think up until this point, their intention was just to raise the berms around the retention pond versus completely removing it and building a new system. And it was consistently declined because it's located in a floodplain. So that's, I think, has now forced the town to look at a completely different alternative. And as far as I know, this is the first time they're really pursuing funding for that new alternative.
Well, the reason I ask, years ago, I had a hazard mitigation project approved for that, and they chose not to move forward with it. So, I mean, it needs to be done. It's critical. But I would look for hazard mitigation funding as well. It works. The only thing, there's a cost here. Yeah.
That's okay. I have to get used to the microphone protocol. From what I understand, the town is very limited in what they can provide in terms of cost share. But I guess if I could ask a question, so you had worked with them previously to look at building a mechanical facility, but
I gave them an option of coming up with whatever they wanted to do. Now, this was 15, 17 years ago, and it was approved by FEMA, and they decided not to move forward. So what I suggest is you go back to them and go after the hazard mitigation funding. And also talk to Representative Robbie Carter and let him come up with the cost share. That, if the LWI funding doesn't work. All right, thank you.
No, Ron's really more of a comment more than anything. Thanks so much for bringing this forward. I think, you know, the intent of the Amite River Basin Commission is to know whether it's Region 9 or even Region 7, everything that everybody's doing in this, you know, ginormous watershed. So just kudos to Greensburg, you know, St. Helena Parish for recognizing and bringing it to the ARBC. There are a lot of people, I think, who aren't aware of what the Amite River Basin Commission does. And that's what this board is intended to change. And so I just think it's great that you know, asked to be here on the agenda to present, to show what's going on, especially in St. Helena Parish, for a very important project. So just a thank you.
Christie, this is a little, I appreciate it also, but just a quick question about the program. In regards to Region 9, ARBC, can you tell me more about the amount of funds that's available through the Pontchartrain Conservancy, how much per year, and the deadlines for application submittal? Do you know that information? We've been getting kind of like a little blitz from the Pontchartrain Conservancy. I think Cassidy, Michael, I don't know, Cassidy's office, $8 million a year, is that correct? Does that sound right?
It's somewhere around there. I just went down to a meeting.
Yep.
I want to say it's like.
Okay. Michael, can you come to the mic? Can you state your name, Michael?
I believe it was 50 million over the next few years. It's on. And I think it's, if I remember right, 12 million over the next couple of years that's going to be available through the Lake Pontchartrain program. It's through the EPA.
And if I understand this correct, it's more water quality driven, which the ARBC has a conservation element to our district, not just flooding element. So perhaps this could be good for us.
It's water quality, environmental education, and I'm trying to remember what.
Restoration.
I'm sorry.
Habitat restoration.
Habitat restoration. That's the third one component.
Good deal. Thank you very much for that information. I'm sure we got a lot of habitat that we could be restoring up in the northern reaches of the Amite River. So,
I just wanted to clarify something. I think at the beginning of that segment, you were correlating that funding source with us. We are not associated with that funding source. It comes from EPA. The name sounds familiar because it does have Lake Pontchartrain in the funding source, but we are a grant recipient of that. We do not manage the program. We're not associated with it at all. So I can't, I'm glad that the senator staffer was here to answer some questions.
so you're saying that the Pontchartrain Conservancy is a different entity than the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation? Is that correct?
Well, okay, there's a funding source from EPA that's known as the Lake Pontchartrain Restoration Program, which is an EPA program. We are the Pontchartrain Conservancy, which is a nonprofit. We changed our name 3 years ago from Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation to Pontchartrain Conservancy. So those two entities are one and the same, which are completely separate from the EPA grant program known as the Lake Pontchartrain Restoration Program.
Thank you very much for clarifying that. If anybody, it's helped me a lot. Yes.
Looking for funds. We don't write checks, so we're looking for funds ourselves. So
Maybe you should get with the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation and ask those guys. No, I'm just kidding.
thank you.
We have any more questions? Okay, one more question.
It's actually a comment, ma'am. I represent Livingston Parish on the commission. However, I live in St. Helena Parish. And I would love to work with you and anyone with the police jury up there to help locate funding and get you moving on this project. Thank you.
Any more comments? Yes.
Thank you for the project. I think getting wastewater out of potentially getting into streams is very important. The question I have is, and you may have stated it, but I wasn't that clear on it. How is that current pond is going to be decommissioned, and what's the process that they're thinking about handling that, the decommissioning of the current pond?
Yes, that is the plan, to decommission the pond, to completely remove the berms, and then restore that acreage to potentially some forested area that could absorb the floodwater from the river should it flood again.
There's a process to close out oxidation ponds that's several different methods that's approvable by DEQ, whether it's lime stabilization, alkali stabilization, but at the end of the day, you have to treat the bacteria, the vectors in the sludge, or haul it off-site, which can be costly. So, thank you, Christy. Appreciate you. Okay, moving on the agenda. Next item under old business is consideration of appointment of executive director. Larry, can you kind of go over this? I mean, we met in the special meeting. I'd appreciate this.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you're aware, we had over 40 applications concerning executive director. We interviewed 2 potential candidates for that position, and then the executive committee continued work on that particular issue and sat with the selected individual, Rachel Lambert, and discussed with her the parameters of her work duties, and at a meeting of the executive committee went over a proposed contract which is in your packets concerning her appointment. The board, it was a very difficult process because of the fact we had so many people that were interested in this particular position. I think we're very fortunate to have Rachel. For those who do not know Rachel, she is currently the Director of Development for East Baton Rouge Parish with extensive background in stormwater, as also she has just received her certification as a floodplain manager. So in your packet is a copy of the contract, which we met with her and went over. If y'all have any questions, and also, Mr. President, if there are any comments from the public, you would maybe want to take those at this time.
Do we have any public comments about our process to select executive director and where we are at this point? Any suggestions?
Rachel, do you want to come up and say?
Rachel, would you like to come up and introduce yourself? First of all, I'd like to introduce Miss Rachel Lambert, our candidate for and selected person for the executive director position for the ARBC.
Good morning, everyone. I just thank you for your time here, and I look forward to working with you all to continue to mitigate flood risk in this basin. So,
Rachel, real brief. I mean, like I say, brief because this can go on like a dissertation. But can you just kind of tell everyone, the viewing public, a little bit about your background and expertise, the things that you know how to do?
I'm a professional engineer by trade. I've worked in the private sector for 6 or 7 years, and then have worked for the city of Baton Rouge for 6 years, the last 6 years, with the last 2 serving as the director for the Department of Development, which manages code enforcement in the flood office for East Baton Rouge Parish, working to reduce flood risk, along with all of our other fellow DPW departments, and maintaining our waterways and doing all those things that this commission is charged with doing. And I look forward to, bringing some of those expertises to, a bigger area and serving more people in the same capacity. I also, like you mentioned, I also have my floodplain manager certification as well. I have an extensive water and wastewater and water resources background. Used to doing this on a day-to-day basis, so I thank you all.
That was a mild presentation of all of the things, but I'll just tell everyone H&H modeling, GIS, hydrologic modeling, and it just goes on and on. We were looking for a unicorn, and they said it couldn't be found. There was none, and I think we might have found it. Thank you very much, Rachel. Oh, I'd like to mention that the start date is October 1, the 1st of October. So we're looking forward to it. Any questions from the board? Can I get a motion? A motion by Commissioner Rayford, second by Commissioner Parker. For the appointment of Rachel Lambert as and the execution of our contractual employment contract. Do we have any opposition? Hearing none. Welcome. Thank you. Whew, that was, you don't know how good that feels. We've been trying to keep it going, but, all right, so moving on, our next item on the agenda is the LWI Region 9 Coordinator Updates and Discussion in regards to Resolution 1171. So, Mr. Bankston, can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes, sir, you need to. This is the comment that we were making. We had proposed a resolution to submit concerning attempting to receive the $800,000 that all the other regions had received over a period of time. And as I mentioned earlier in my comments, that we have now been provided a framework for our application, which requires a good bit of detail. I have gone ahead and shared that with Ms. Lambert for her to start looking at, because I think that would probably be job number one of the commission, is to try to get that application filed and attempting to secure that. So the resolution 1171 would be just a resolution to go with the application that we have, but we would prepare that after we completed our application. So there's no action that we need to take at this particular moment. Right, Tony? Well, yeah, the resolution is just to support the request of the $800,000 for Region 9. So you want to
Okay, motion by Commissioner Parker, second by Commissioner Harris. Any opposition for this resolution? Hearing none, motion adopted. Okay, next item on our agenda is consideration of GOSEP HMGP funding for Region 9. I think what we've come up with is we haven't heard any projects, except recently we've heard of one project, and it's very much needed for Region 9. And it's in the Bayou Manchac watershed. And it's coming from East Baton Rouge Parish, but it'll be in cooperation with Ascension and Iberville. And basically what this project does is the plan is to redirect the mouth of Ward's Creek where it enters Bayou Manchac, where it flows downstream as opposed to flowing upstream towards the Frog Bayou and Alligator Bayou floodgate, backwater flood control structures, which will benefit Iberville and Ascension parishes, including there's projects that's being proposed in EBR for channel improvements within Ward's Creek that may increase the downstream impacts, and this project would help to mitigate those downstream impacts by, rather than sending the water toward upstream towards Iberville and Ascension, send it downstream toward the Amite River where it wants to go in the first place. It's kind of a peculiar alignment that the mouth of the Ward's Creek where it enters Bayou Manchac is configured in this direction. But if you look at it on the map, it is, and in real time during a flood, you can see how the water does flow. It's very confused. It wants to go downstream, but it's directed upstream, and it takes a while, and it does have some negative impacts. But I've said enough about it.
To go over that this is a GOSEP project that didn't require any additional.
Yep. That also, too, the unique thing about this is the $3.5 million hazard mitigation funds that's coming to Region 9, and it doesn't require any match funds. So we're excited, and this could be something that could make a big difference. Now, I'm not stealing all the thunder or by no means trying to explain everything about this project. I just know from having dealt with it, anybody that's been dealing with Bayou Manchac and the watershed and Amite River Tributaries project knows that this has been a problem for a long time. But with that said, Commissioner Rayford, would you mind kind of giving a little spin on this?
Sure. Mr. President, I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this because it is important for East Baton Rouge Parish, but it also, the improvement certainly lessens the water impacts on for Iberville Parish and also Ascension Parish. The channel itself right now, it's its own confluent. It creates a problem, a dam that pushes water back toward Iberville Parish and also toward Ascension Parish. By realigning this channel will certainly help facilitate the flow. We've had an actual study that was done by McKee and Creed on this project in general, gave the concept of what we would like to look at. It certainly has a positive impact, and we believe that we could do the project for the $3.5 million. Maybe not to the magnitude that was originally proposed, but anytime you can straighten that alignment and make it the water go with the flow of Manchac, things are going to be worked 10 times better. I certainly would like to hope we get support to accomplish this. Thank you.
Do we have any comments, board discussion? Commissioner Harrell.
I just want Fred and you, Mr. President, to acknowledge the fact that when you realign the waterway that you're wanting to do, it will negatively impact the Amite River, Livingston Parish. I am for the project 100%. However, please be aware that it is putting more water on Livingston Parish, and keep that in mind when we start talking about the $100 million that we have with LWI to help me move forward with dredging the Amite River. Thank you. But I want you to acknowledge that, please, sir.
Acknowledged.
What is the funding for specifically, if you don't mind elaborating?
It's to look at.
It's hazard mitigation funding from GOSEP, Governor's Office of Homeland, and that's just through FEMA, and it's for flood protection, flood hazard reduction or prevention, flood hazard, pertaining to flood hazards. Is that good, Monica? I mean, did that answer your question, or you had something else in mind? Okay. Do we have any public comments on this particular project proposal? So what it entails at this point is we need to submit a letter of intent, and East Baton Rouge has already provided that. That has to be in by September 29th, a letter of intent, and which is pretty much a placeholder for the region for a project. And we'll go from there. Do I have a motion for this project? Motion?
I have a motion to submit the letter of intent.
We got a motion to submit the letter of intent by Commissioner Ferlito, and a second by Commissioner Harris. Do I have any opposition? Any opposition? Hearing none, motion pass. Okay, next item on our agenda is the ARBC annual plan. Any public comments on our annual plan? It's going to be due at the end of this year, December 31st. We're working closely with CPRA to get something done. Commissioner Haas, can you extrapolate on this a little bit, where we're at and what we've done so far?
Yeah, so we've been, since the special meeting where we discussed this, Mr. President, we've been working the scope, and a task should be issued to move forward with that this week.
Very good.
There's no real. Mr. President, because we had already approved the request to CPRA to develop a task order. That's been authorized, so technically we don't need to take any specific action. The task order will be generated, and the process will move forward, and we should have that happen in the next few weeks. So no formal action needs to be taken on that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is update project status of the Comite River Diversion project. Larry, you mind giving us a little update?
Yes, sir. The commission members, Ms. Brignac with DOTD, Mr. Knight is not here today, but for those who are interested, there will be an opportunity for you to participate and hear what's going on at the monthly meeting that will take place. And we'll send out emails to all the commission members for them to, and it's a recurring monthly meeting. I think John was on this last meeting. The project is still continuing to move. The issue, the major issue continues to be the issue involving the Florida gas pipeline and the relocation of the Florida gas pipeline. The project has, as everyone may or may not know, as a result of actions by Congressman Graves, he has been able to secure the necessary funding for the completion of the project, even though the contractual determinations have gone in excess of probably 30% higher in some of the contracts that they have. Materials are scarce, as well as there is difficulty in finding labor to perform the various services. So there has been an escalation in cost, but the DOTD and as well as the Corps of Engineers continue to work on the project. I do not see that there's any change in the ultimate completion date. It still won't be until 2025. So that is, we continue to participate on that particular monthly meeting, and any board member who wants to participate and hear what's actually going on. We do send out, once they present an update of information concerning what, if you, in your packet, you should see utility relocation. As you can see, almost all utility relocation has been done. One of the items on our agenda today is involving a utility relocation as it relates to DIMCO, that because we are the owners of the property currently, that we must execute. So if you look in your packet, there is the different stages of the project and to what work still must be done. And as you can see, Florida Gas is probably the most significant, because that means a portion, two different portions of the project cannot really get started until that pipeline is moved. But again, we will send out to you it's a Zoom call once a month, and if you are interested in participating in that and hearing what's going on, it'll be available to you.
Thank you, Mr. Bankson. Do we have any public comments on the update for the Comeet River Diversion Project? Okay. Moving on to our next item on our agenda under new business.
Let me do that.
It's Resolution 1172. Mr. Bankson, this is a legal deal here. So.
What we have done in the past, there has been occasions in which there has been right of entry, right of way, servitude agreements in which, between our monthly meetings, as you can imagine, some of these projects, because we own a substantial portion of this property, we must execute these right-of-way agreements or servitude agreements. This would authorize the ARBC Executive Director to sign right-of-way or servitude agreements. The previous presidents, as well as the previous executive directors, had this authority. This resolution would grant our new executive director that authority to execute that in the event it was necessary to have action taken between our meetings. To the extent that it can be on the agenda, and we have an item, the next item is on the agenda for a right-of-way agreement to be executed, but this would give authority for the executive director, which would the resolution 1172 allows the executive director to do this, subject to and review and approval by legal counsel in connection with the Comeet Diversion Canal project. And it is correct that normally it is either the executive director or the president that can execute that particular thing. The resolution right now, and I would suggest that it would be authorized, the Executive Director, Rachel Lambert, in her capacity as Executive Director, as well as the President of ARBC at that particular time. So I would suggest that we amend Resolution 1172 to include John Clark as President of the Commission. Any public comment?
Okay, we have any public comment? Do we have a motion to amend to add? Motion by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Parker. Any opposition? Okay, the motion is to approve it as amended. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion adopted. Okay, moving on. This brings us to our next item on the agenda. Leads right into this, is that the Amite River Basin Commission received a request for a right-of-way agreement. They're working on McHugh Road. They have a project. They're trying to finish it. And it entailed moving a Demco utility power line and some power poles. And they requested if perhaps they could utilize a servitude that comes across the Comite River diversion land area. So I think the consensus was among everyone is that as long as it didn't impede the construction or the project with LDOTD, it should be fine. So, Larry, you can talk about this?
If I could.
Hold on.
For the commission members, as you may or may not be aware, once the Comite Diversion Canal project is complete, the property within the canal portion itself will be turned over to East Baton Rouge Parish. So this particular servitude agreement has been reviewed by East Baton Rouge Parish to confirm that it was okay with this particular relocation, and that we'll have no additional delays. One of the things that we try to do is to expedite these right-of-way agreements, so this commission does not appear to be impeding in any way the construction projects involved here. So we have here the Demco project here, and it has been reviewed by East Baton Rouge Parish, and it has been reviewed by me.
Okay, so we have a legal agreement that's been prepared by our legal counsel, Mr. Larry Bankston, and it appears to be approvable by EBR. And any public comments on this particular item? Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution or this right-of-way agreement? Motion by Mr. Parker, second by Commissioner Bailey. Any public comments? Any opposition? Hearing none, motion adopted. Okay, next item is bank resolution, update signature authorities. I'm going to call upon the ARBC Executive Secretary, Tony, if you don't mind, could you?
Sure. We don't actually have a resolution, but what the bank needs from us is a motion to add the new executive director to be able to sign checks and to each of our accounts. Oh, sorry. All right, the bank needs for y'all to go ahead and vote so we can enter it into the minutes that the new executive director, Rachel Lambert, will be able to sign checks and be able to do that with all of our accounts. That's going to include, we'll do it with Hancock and with Lamp accounts.
Any public comments? Commissioner Rayford, did you have something to add earlier? I'm sorry, I overlooked this keyboard here.
I just wanted to thank the board because it is holding up one of our projects on McHugh Road, and I do appreciate the consideration and approval of the process. Thank y'all.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt? Commissioner Dawson, second by Commissioner Bailey. Any public comments? Any opposition? Hearing none, motion adopted. All right. In general, like I said in the beginning, I welcome the public. I welcome everyone to come out to these meetings. I'd like to think that you recognize that the new ARBC board is on the move, and we're working at a sense of urgency to try to get things done. And I believe the way that the makeup, the parishes, the engineers, the expertise that we have is a perfect combination to really do things like never before. So with that, and considering our meeting and the items that we have covered today and the progress that we've talked about and made, do we have any public comments? Okay, no public comments. So hearing no public comments, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by motion by Ms. Phillips and second by Mr. Parker. Thank you all.